My name is Cindra Stackhouse Taetzsch. I am the Chief Alumni Officer at Wheaton College in Illinois. I've been in this role for about 20 years, and I have two reporting lines. One is the Alumni and Parent Engagement Team, and the other is the Center for Vocation and Career. So in 2014, the president had asked me to cast a new vision for career development at Wheaton. And the key challenges we were trying to address were ones that will sound familiar to most schools, I believe. Helping the institution understand that alumni were really frustrated with what they felt was a lack of career preparation at Wheaton. Getting broad institutional buy-in instead of the institution thinking, well, we have a career problem, go see those people, they can help you with your resume. It was much bigger than that, and it needed to be an institutional effort. We had a tiny operating budget and very few staff. And I knew from the best practice research I did that we needed a much bigger budget and a much bigger staff. I even recommended we move it from where it was located institutionally in student development into alumni. It was advancement alumni relations at the time, because of the work I had done looking at the best liberal arts schools and other schools that had moved it already. And then for us, for Wheaton College, it was doing the right thing to us as a theological imperative. We're a Christian school. It's important to us to empower our students to be ready to be salt and light when they graduate. That's a term from the Bible that we take very seriously. I felt that we were not doing a good job equipping our newest graduates to be salt and light at graduation. They were floundering for a long, long time. And when you have what you believe is a deep theological imperative, you kind of got to listen to that and get moving on it.
Thank you. That sounds really, the salt and the light aspect is really interesting. And you're right, it does create an imperative. Well, you mentioned some alumni frustrations as a catalyst for change. How did you engage that feedback and channel it into momentum for transformation?
Yeah, so you can't be in the role of the head of the Alumni Association and not hear lots of criticism about career preparation, if in fact that is a weakness in your school. It was frustrating for me because alumni were complaining a lot, and it was not my responsibility to make a change. That said, we had some influential alumni come to us and say, Wheaton doesn't do a good job here, we can help. And I was asked to oversee a group that we formed out of these frustrated alumni and added more, called the Leadership Council. It's kind of a funny, boring name, but the Leadership Council, which meant, again, the name didn't mean anything, but that was a group of alumni who were kind of mid to senior career leaders who cared deeply about how we were preparing our students for life after Wheaton. I brought them to campus twice a year. They met every time they came with the president and senior administrative cabinet. They spoke in classes. They met with students. They shared their experience. They shared their frustrations. The president called them the ball bearing in the paint spray can, the agitators. It was a little bit tricky for me because I was caught in the middle between these frustrated alumni and the institution. It was my job to give them a voice and to give them space and to really cheer for them. And that's what I mean by caught in the middle. I was cheering for them, and the institution at times was resisting. But eventually, once we met the institution started to realize we really do have a problem here. It was the voices of those alumni who had experience with the work world in every sphere. We had arts, medicine, business. We had somebody from, I said arts, healthcare. We had somebody who was a pastor. We had a wide range of people in different vocations who cared a lot about Wheaton, many of whom were financially capable to make a difference here. And so it was their voice that really turned this thing around.
Cindra, and now fast forwarding to 2017, you conducted an alumni survey, which had some results that may have helped shape or validate the strategy that you had for the Center for Vocation and Career. Could you comment a little bit on that?
Sure. Sure. So we had my voice. We had the voice of what I had learned was best practice out there as far as doing better, putting more institutional investment into this effort, moving it into our division. We had the voice of 12 to 15 key alumni. But the most important thing we had was the data from the alumni survey from PEG. The data showed us that this isn't just Cindra's voice. This isn't just these 15 cranky alumni. This is alumni overall. We're saying the number one area where they wanted to see improvement over time was skills and training for career. I can yell it till I'm blue in the face, but until I have that hard data from the survey that we did with our PEG partners, it just bolstered what we were doing and reinforced what we had been saying, and that was invaluable.
Looking ahead, Cindra, the most recent 2024 alumni survey, which you did conduct with PEG and the Alumni Attitude Study, what were some of the signs of progress that stood out to you the most from those results?
Well, the results showed that it still was the number one concern of our alumni, because of course, when you think about it, when you're surveying all your alumni, that's back to alumni who graduated in the 40s who were responding. Their experience as students was no different. So of course they were still cranky about how we hadn't done well. What we did see was a moving of the needle of the last 6-7 years where we've made such strides. Now, like everybody else, we were hampered by COVID. We were shut down in Illinois. Nobody could be on campus for a full year. And it's been a little tough for students to get back into the swing of recognizing they're not just going to school, they're not just taking classes and making friends, but career preparation is important. So it set us back, but all of that to say the needle has moved, and we saw in this most recent survey. What I'm looking forward to seeing is the next survey we do with PEG, and we haven't decided when that will be, but to see how that needle is moving. I'm convinced it will move. I'm absolutely certain it'll really, really help us to have that data, though.
Yeah, hi, I'm Rob Schoss, the managing consultant president here at Performance Enhancement Group, and was involved in all of the projects, in both the projects that we did with Cindra, and really enjoyed working with her and the team there at Wheaton.
Rob, when you first began working with Cindra and the Wheaton team, what stood out to you about the challenges that they were facing, and how did PEG tailor its approach to support their vision for change?
Well, I think like a lot of the schools that we work with, they hadn't really reached out to their alumni a lot, and they have this, I think, as we found out, a really involved, engaged alumni population, and it was really a lot of not just working in terms of the things that Cindra's talking about with respect to career services, but it's also owning the survey process of just making it about the engagement, reaching out to their alumni saying, hey, we really care about what you think. Your opinion matters to us. And so I think that was really important for Wheaton, especially in that first survey that we did.
All right. So the next question is over to Cindra. Now that the Center for Vocation and Career is recognized as a strength of Wheaton's, how has PEG helped you tell that story, both internally and to external stakeholders like alumni and donors?
Sure. Well, we've created an alumni survey website with some charts and graphs. We've told it in the magazine. We've told it in emails. We are telling the story over and over again. We had extraordinary engagement with our survey. I know from being in this role for 20 years that alumni care a lot about Wheaton. They'll tell us what they think, whether it's good or bad. And that's really important engagement. And so I feel, again, kind of a moral responsibility to respond and say, I will read, and I have read, every verbatim, every comment you make, at least one person will read it. In reading those comments, I was able to talk to the trustees and donors about some of the sentiment out there that was a little bit hard to see in the charts and graphs. Like I said, we've created an alumni survey website. It's really fun to see the charts and graphs. It's kind of more fun to tell the story, particularly when I think about careers at Wheaton. Alumni tell us, again, this is the number one frustration they have with Wheaton. Hey, look what we're doing. Go to this website and look what we're doing. Look at the changes that we've made. We have a story to tell, and it's something to celebrate. And it's the data that we got from PEG that enable us to say, we're listening, we care deeply about you. Thank you for responding. We've read every comment you've made. We're doing a lot to enhance the good things happening at Wheaton, to pivot. We constantly go back. I hear the trustees talking about it. I hear faculty talking about it. I hear different departments talking about, hey, that alumni survey we did. We don't just do a survey and put it on the shelf. We do a survey. We deep dive into it. We care deeply about what alumni say. Does it mean we change everything we do? Of course not. But it sure helps us. It helps inform sharpening the things that we do, where we prioritize our budgets, reinforce some of the things we're already doing that are good things. Otherwise, what good is the data if we're not going to listen to it and acknowledge it and hopefully enhance some of the things we're doing?
Yeah, I think one of the things that's been the most fun in working with Cindra and Wheaton is we did that first study and came back, and I don't think Cindra's really expressed, in my opinion, enough the amazing thing they've done in terms of involving in really bringing career services and alumni engagement together, and creating an environment right there in the student union, or the main building where the students are a lot, is where the career services is. There's this amazing amount of support from alumni in terms of helping make, it's just an amazing, it was like this, it was exciting for me when I showed up on campus for the second survey, and Cindra showed me this wonderful thing that they built on, and sort of where they're going with this project. It makes me feel good about that. Our survey could help with them creating the resources they needed to do that. And the other thing that's sort of special, I think, about Wheaton is just what Cindra said. When I was there on campus presenting, I presented to everybody. We presented to all faculty and staff and her trustees. The meetings with her and her trustees are wonderful because they're so engaged, and they're asking questions, and they're really thinking about, how do we take this voice from alumni and use it to make the entire institution better? And that's been one of the wonderful things about working with them.
Last question, Cindra, over to you is for other institutional leaders considering working with Rob and Ali and the PEG team, what has made that partnership most valuable to you?
Well, I want to start by saying I really like them as human beings, and that's important to me. I mean, Rob's actually really funny and he's easy to get along with. Ali is just as professional as one might hope. She's responsive. Oh my goodness. I said either in my head, or I said to Rob, if Ali ever gets tired of this PEG gig, I want to hire her. She's really something. They're the consummate professionals. I work very fast. I have a lot on my plate, like everybody else who does this work in higher ed, and I don't want to sit around waiting for answers. I want partners who can pivot with me, partners who are flexible, partners who are responsive. Those are all the things that PEG is. When we said to Rob early on, kind of, we're going to do this other survey, and they're really thought partners with us. They suggested lots of questions. They said, well, do you want to add this? And if you add this, there's this, and here's another module. So we were not just given a a formula survey, but it was, here's some suggested questions. Here's what you did last time. Here are ways you can pivot next time. So it really felt like a partnership that was mutually beneficial. They shared some best practice marketing from other schools, and I really appreciated that. Oh gosh, I think it was a trustee meeting I was walking into, and I suddenly realized I didn't have exactly the data I needed the day before. And I reached out to Allie, and her team crunched a couple more numbers for me. I will forever be grateful for that, because I would have been caught flat-footed, and the way they responded and pivoted with exactly the information I needed, I just can't thank them enough. They're just the best. I'd highly recommend.